Captain Ethan Miller leaned over the viewport of the Odyssey, staring at the bright blue and green planet below. It was a world no human had ever seen before. The clouds were a soft pink, and rivers glimmered like silver under the sunlight. The forests glowed faintly, even from space. It looked peaceful, but Ethan knew appearances could be misleading. He had seen enough strange planets to know that beauty often hid danger. "Captain," said Lieutenant Carla Benson, walking up beside him, "the scans show unusual energy readings near the northern forests. It doesn't match anything in our database." Ethan nodded. "We'll send a small team down. I want to see what's causing it." He turned back to the planet. "Get the landing crew ready." Carla's face was calm, but Ethan could see the slight tension in her eyes. They both knew that exploring a new planet was risky. The Odyssey had been built for research and exploration, not battle. But humans were curious by nature, and curiosity often came with danger. The shuttle landed gently in a clearing. The air smelled fresh, almost sweet. Ethan stepped out first, his boots crunching on the soft moss. The light from the forests was strange and beautiful. Trees had long, thin leaves that glowed with a faint blue light. Strange flowers opened and closed as if they were breathing. Small animals with shiny eyes peeked from behind rocks and logs, watching the humans. "Keep your scanners on," Ethan said, "and stay alert. We don't know what's here." The team moved carefully. Sergeant Luke Hayes scanned the area with a handheld device. "Captain, I'm picking up life signs," he said. "Two beings, adult and child. They're injured." Ethan froze. "Injured? Where?" "Near the riverbank," Luke replied. "They're weak, but alive." Ethan motioned for the team to follow. They walked through the glowing forest, leaves brushing against their suits. The closer they got to the river, the stronger the life signs became. Then Ethan saw her. She was unlike any human, yet her form was similar enough to recognize. Her skin was pale with a faint shimmer, and her hair fell like silver threads over her shoulders. She crouched near a small bundle on the ground, a baby wrapped in a soft, glowing cloth. The woman looked up at the humans with wide eyes, fear and confusion in them. Ethan stepped forward slowly. "We don't want to hurt you," he said in a calm voice. "Can you understand me?" The woman didn't respond with words. She tilted her head and made a soft humming sound. The baby stirred and looked at Ethan. There was something in the child's eyes that seemed to recognize him, as if it knew he meant no harm. Carla whispered, "Captain, she might be trying to communicate." Ethan nodded. "I understand. We are here to help." The woman hesitated, then slowly extended her hands toward them, holding the baby closer. Ethan realized she was not attacking. They were being offered trust, cautious and small. He stepped forward, keeping his hands visible. "It's okay. We can help you both." The baby cooed softly, reaching a tiny hand toward Ethan. He knelt down, his gloved hand hovering near the child's. The baby grabbed it, and Ethan felt a warmth that was not just physical. He had protected many people before, but never had he felt such a deep, instant connection. "We should take them back to the shuttle," Ethan said gently. "We can give you food, water, and medical help." The woman looked uncertain, but then a soft cry came from the baby. That seemed to convince her. She picked up the child, and Ethan signaled for the team to move carefully. As they walked back, Ethan studied her. Her movements were graceful, almost like she was floating. Her eyes stayed on him, watchful and cautious, but there was a trust growing slowly. He wondered how long it would last. Back on the shuttle, Medical Officer Rachel Green examined the woman and the baby. "Both are dehydrated and weak," she said. "The baby is healthy, but the mother needs fluids and rest immediately." Ethan stayed nearby. "What's your name?" he asked. The woman hesitated, then said a single word in a soft, melodic voice. Lyra. Lyra, Ethan repeated. I'm Ethan. You're safe now, Lyra. She nodded slowly, her eyes flicking toward the baby. Ethan noticed that when he looked at the child, the baby's small hand reached toward him again. It was an innocent, trusting gesture that made Ethan's chest tighten. He had never felt so protective in his life. Carla whispered to him, Captain, we need to know if there are more of them. Is this just the two of them? Ethan shook his head. I don't know, but we'll find out. Right now, we make sure Lyra and the baby are safe. Lyra's voice was soft, almost musical. She said a few words, but they were unfamiliar. Rachel tried to respond with gestures offering food and water. Lyra accepted, though cautiously, and the baby began to drink from a small bottle Rachel provided. Hours passed. Ethan stayed close, watching over them. He noticed small things. The baby reacted when he spoke, turning its head toward him. Lyra watched silently, as if observing not just Ethan, but the humans around her. She seemed intelligent, aware, and thoughtful. That night, the forest outside glowed like a million tiny lanterns. Ethan could not sleep. He sat by the shuttle's window, thinking about the planet, the woman, and the baby. Something about them felt important, almost like fate had brought them together. Suddenly, the shuttle's scanner beeped. Ethan jumped up. What is it? Luke rushed over. There's movement in the forest, not far from us. Large life forms, probably the same species as Lyra, but aggressive energy signatures. Ethan frowned. We need to be ready. Lyra, if anything comes, we will protect you and your baby. Lyra looked at him, her eyes wide. She did not speak, but she placed her tiny hand on Ethan's arm. It was a simple gesture, yet it carried trust and hope. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. He had faced danger before, but never like this, never protecting someone so fragile and important. The night passed slowly. The forest was alive with glowing plants and strange sounds. Lyra and the baby slept in the shuttle, and Ethan stayed awake most of the night, planning, thinking, watching. By morning, he had made a decision. He would not let anything happen to them. Not the planet, not the unknown species, and certainly not Lyra and her child. When the sun rose, the forest looked calm, almost welcoming. But Ethan knew better. They were visitors in this world, and someone, or something, was watching. Lyra awoke first, looking around cautiously. The baby cooed, reaching for Ethan, who knelt down beside them. He smiled gently. Good morning, he said. You're safe. Lyra tilted her head, studying him. Then she reached out and touched his hand lightly. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke more than words. Ethan understood. Trust had begun to form between them. Ethan stood and looked at his crew. We are explorers, yes, he said, but we are also protectors. Today, we learn more about this planet, and we make sure that Lyra and her baby are safe. They are not just lives to save. They may hold the key to something bigger than we can imagine. Carla nodded. Understood, Captain. We'll stay alert. The day passed with careful exploration. Ethan led small patrols into the forest, keeping the shuttle and Lyra close. They saw strange animals, plants that glowed and moved, and rivers that reflected light in impossible colors. Ethan recorded everything, but his eyes kept returning to Lyra and her baby. Something about them felt like hope, fragile but real. By evening, Ethan sat again by the viewport of the shuttle, holding the baby in his arms. Lyra sat nearby, watching quietly. The child looked up at him, reaching for his face, and Ethan felt a warmth he had never known. We'll keep you safe, he whispered. No matter what happens, I promise. Lyra's eyes met his. There were no words, but in that look, Ethan felt understanding, fear, and trust all at once. He knew the real challenge was only beginning. The forest was beautiful, yes, but it hid dangers they could not yet see. and somewhere out there, the forces that threatened this planet were already moving. Ethan held the baby closer. He felt a sense of purpose stronger than anything he had ever known. Protecting them was no longer just a mission. It was personal. As the sun set over the glowing forest, Ethan knew one thing. Nothing would stop him from keeping Lyra and her baby safe. Not fear, not danger, not even the unknown. The first step in this journey had been taken, and the story of love, trust, and survival had just begun. The morning on the glowing planet began quietly, but Ethan knew that calm rarely lasted. He stood outside the shuttle, watching Lyra and her baby sleep in a small camp the crew had set up nearby. The air was cool, and soft light filtered through the tall, bioluminescent trees. Ethan had never seen anything like it. It was beautiful, but he felt uneasy. The scanners had detected movement the previous night, and he knew they were not alone. "Captain," Carla said, coming up beside him, "our sensors are picking up another life form. Larger than Lyra, stronger energy. It's moving toward the river where we first found them." Ethan frowned. "Are they hostile?" "I don't know yet," Carla admitted, "but the energy readings are tense. Alert levels are rising." Ethan nodded. "We stay calm, we stay ready, and we protect them. Lyra and her baby come first." The crew moved quickly. Ethan and a small team followed Carla deeper into the forest, while others stayed near the camp. As they approached the riverbank, Ethan saw them, two tall figures with sharp features and dark, metallic-like skin. They moved with precision, their eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. The humans froze. "They're Leora," Ethan whispered. "Or part of their species, but different." Something is wrong. One of the figures noticed them and stepped forward. It made a sound that was harsh, almost like a warning. The humans raised their hands slowly. Ethan spoke. "We don't want to fight. We are here to help." The figure tilted its head and made the sound again. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. This was not friendly. The baby stirred in the shuttle's care, as if sensing the danger. Ethan glanced back toward Lyra, who watched from a distance. Fear and worry were clear in her eyes. "Captain," Luke whispered, "they might attack if we move closer." Ethan considered his options. He could retreat and bring Lyra back to safety, but he knew that running might trigger an attack anyway. Sometimes showing courage was the only way to survive. He raised his hand in a gesture of peace. "We mean no harm. Please. We only want to understand." The figure paused, then lowered its hand slightly. Ethan noticed it was watching the baby more than him. The other figure remained tense, ready to move. "Captain," Carla said quietly, "these could be protectors or hunters. We don't know which." Ethan nodded. "We stay calm. We show respect." Suddenly, a loud screech echoed through the forest. Birds, or something like birds, flew overhead, scattering. The figures stiffened. The humans tensed. Then, the baby in the shuttle cried out, a loud and urgent sound. Ethan ran to the shuttle. Lyra scooped up her child, holding it close. "It's okay," Ethan said, kneeling beside her. "You are safe with us. No one will hurt you." Lyra's eyes met his. There was gratitude, but also fear. Ethan felt a surge of protectiveness he had never known before. This child, this small life, depended on them all. He would not fail. The two Leora figures approached more slowly now. Ethan could see they were curious, not immediately hostile. One of them, the larger one, touched the ground lightly, sending a small ripple through the glowing moss. Ethan realized it was a way of sensing the human's energy. Carla whispered, "They're testing us, or communicating in some way." Ethan nodded. "We respond calmly, no sudden moves. We respect them." To his surprise, the larger figure made a softer sound and gestured toward the forest. Ethan understood. They wanted him to follow, carefully. He glanced at Lyra, who looked hesitant but willing. He motioned to the crew, and together they moved forward, keeping a careful distance. The Leora led them to a small clearing. There, Ethan saw more of their kind, injured and hiding among the trees. It became clear the planet's population was in danger. Something or someone was attacking them. "Lyra," Ethan said gently, "your people, they are in danger?" Lyra nodded slowly, speaking in her melodic language. Ethan could not understand the words, but the tone was desperate. He glanced at Carla. "We need a translator or some way to communicate quickly." Rachel, the medical officer, stepped forward. "Captain, their language is musical. If we match the tones, we can communicate simple ideas. I can try." Ethan agreed. Rachel began to hum softly, mimicking the tones Lyra used. Slowly, Lyra responded, her voice calmer now. Ethan watched in awe. They were forming the first real understanding. "Their people are being hunted," Rachel said quietly. "They're being attacked by a group called Varkon. Lyra says they destroy villages and take children." Ethan's heart tightened. "Then we have to help them. We can't let this continue." Luke spoke up. "Captain, this could be dangerous. If we intervene, the Varkon might attack us too." Ethan shook his head. "We have to try. Protecting the innocent is why we are here. And Lyra's baby, this child is special. I feel it." Over the next few days, Ethan and the crew worked with Lyra. They helped heal the injured, shared water and food, and learned the basic ways of the Leora. The baby grew stronger and more responsive. Ethan noticed that when he spoke to the child, it seemed to understand. Its eyes followed him, and it sometimes reached out for his hand. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the glowing trees, Lyra spoke softly. "They will come soon," she said, in a voice filled with worry. Ethan did not need a translator to understand. Danger was coming. Carla set up defensive equipment around the clearing. "We can't fight a full army," she said, "but we can protect the camp and escape if needed." Ethan nodded. "And we will. But maybe there is another way. Maybe we can reason with them." Rachel looked at him skeptically. "Reason with who? The Varkon?" "Yes," Ethan said firmly. "Sometimes courage is not just in fighting. Sometimes it's in showing compassion and understanding. If we can do that, maybe we can save more than just Lyra and the baby." The next day, the forest was quiet. Almost too quiet. Ethan patrolled near the river with Luke and Carla. The baby's soft cooing echoed from the camp. Suddenly, movement flashed in the trees. Shadows darted, and the humans froze. A small group of Varkon warriors emerged. They were taller than humans, with metallic armor that gleamed under the strange sunlight. Their eyes glowed red, and their expressions were cold and merciless. Ethan raised his hands. "We don't want to fight. We only want peace. Let Lyra and her people live." The Varkon leader stepped forward, growling. Ethan noticed it was the same species Lyra had feared most. They were aggressive, but they hesitated when they saw the baby. The child's eyes met the Varkon leader, and for a moment, the air was still. Carla whispered, "Captain, that baby." Ethan felt it too. The baby's presence seemed to calm the Varkon, almost like it was reaching out to them without words. Ethan realized that this child might hold the key to ending the conflict peacefully. He stepped forward carefully. "We can find a solution. Violence is not the only way. Let us show you." The Varkon leader studied him, then the baby, then Ethan again. A tense silence hung over the forest. Ethan felt every heartbeat, every shadow, every movement. He knew that one wrong step could trigger war. Suddenly, Lyra appeared at his side, holding her child tightly. She looked at the Varkon and began to hum. The baby joined her, cooing in a tone that was soft and powerful. The Varkon leader paused, listening. Ethan realized that the child was communicating, bridging the two species in a way words could not. The Varkon warriors lowered their weapons slightly. Ethan kept his hands raised. "See? There is hope. Peace is possible." The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then, slowly, the Varkon stepped back, retreating into the trees. Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. Carla looked at him, astonished. That baby?" Ethan nodded, holding the child carefully. "It's not just a baby, it's a symbol of hope, and we will protect it no matter what comes next." That night, as the camp settled, Ethan sat with Lyra and her baby. He realized something important. This child, so small and fragile, might change the fate of the planet, but protecting it would not be easy. There were forces in the galaxy that would not stop, and humans had a choice to make: fight, flee, or find a new way to survive. Lyra placed her hand gently on Ethan's arm. She did not speak, but he understood. She trusted him, and for the first time, Ethan knew that love, courage, and compassion could be stronger than any weapon. The forest outside glowed softly, but Ethan knew the real challenge was still ahead. He had made a promise: to protect Lyra and her baby. And he would keep it, no matter the cost. The story was only beginning. The sun rose slowly over the glowing forests, painting the trees with shades of pink and gold. Ethan Miller stood at the edge of the clearing, looking out at the strange and beautiful world. He felt a weight on his shoulders heavier than ever before. Protecting Lyra and her baby was not just a duty now. It was a responsibility that could decide the fate of the planet. "Captain," Carla said, joining him, "the Varkon are moving closer. Scanners show at least 10 of their ships near the northern ridge. They might be preparing to attack again." Ethan's jaw tightened. "We can't let them hurt Lyra's people or her baby. We have to plan carefully. We don't have the numbers to fight them head-on, but maybe we can find another way." Luke stepped forward. "Captain, I don't like this. They are too strong. One wrong move and we'll be overrun. We need a strategy, something smart." Ethan nodded. "I know, but we can't run. We protect those who can't protect themselves. That's who we are." Back in the camp, Lyra watched from the shadows as humans moved equipment and prepared defenses. The baby, small and fragile, cooed softly in her arms. Ethan approached carefully, smiling. "Good morning," he said. "We'll keep you safe today, no matter what comes." Lyra tilted her head, speaking softly in her musical language. Ethan could not understand the words, but her tone was urgent. She was warning him. Danger was close. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Ethan and Carla exchanged a look. "They're coming," Ethan said. "Get everyone ready. We protect the camp first." The Varkon appeared on the ridge, their ships landing with heavy thuds. Dark figures emerged, moving swiftly and quietly through the forest. Their armor gleamed in the strange sunlight, and their red eyes glowed with intent. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. These were not just hunters, they were soldiers. "Form a defensive circle around Lyra and her baby," Ethan ordered. "Stay calm and stay ready. We wait for their move, but we don't attack unless we must." The crew followed orders, forming a protective ring. Ethan held his weapon ready, but his eyes never left Lyra and the baby. He knew that if anything happened to them, the mission and their lives would be meaningless. The Varkon approached slowly, their leader stepping forward. Ethan could feel their power, their anger, and their intent to dominate. But when the leader saw the baby, something unexpected happened. It paused. The child's small eyes met the leader's glowing red ones, and for a moment the air seemed to change. Carla whispered, "Captain." The baby. It's like they understand each other. Ethan nodded, holding his breath. He realized the baby's presence was more than innocent. It was powerful. It could reach the minds and hearts of those around it, even the Varkon. The leader hissed, then stepped back slightly. Ethan saw an opportunity. "We can find peace," he called out. "No one needs to fight. Let us help your people instead of harming them." The Varkon leader paused, considering. The other soldiers shifted, uncertain. The forest was silent except for the soft cooing of the baby. It was as if the child was speaking without words, calming the tension and sending hope to both sides. Lyra stepped forward, holding her baby high. She hummed softly, a melodic sound that matched the child's coos. Ethan could see the Varkon leader's posture soften slightly. He realized that this small family, this human and alien bond, might be the key to preventing a war. But the moment was broken when a loud explosion shook the forest. Trees fell and smoke rose. A group of Varkon warriors, separate from the leader, had decided to attack. They charged the human camp, weapons raised. "Defend them!" Ethan shouted. "Do not let them reach Lyra and her baby!" The humans fired their weapons, careful to aim near but not at the attackers, trying to scare them rather than kill. Luke and Carla moved quickly, blocking paths and pushing Lyra behind a glowing tree for protection. The baby cried out, and Ethan ran to scoop it into his arms. The Varkon were fast and strong, but the humans were clever. Using the strange terrain and glowing plants, they set traps and used their knowledge of the forest to slow the attackers. Ethan realized that strategy, courage, and teamwork were their best weapons. During the chaos, the baby began to cry loudly, its voice echoing through the forest. Ethan noticed that the Varkon soldiers froze when they heard it. Something about the baby's sound, its emotion, made them hesitate. "Captain!" Carla yelled over the noise. "It's working! They're stopping!" Ethan's heart pounded. He could feel the baby's influence, reaching the attackers in a way words or weapons could not. Slowly, the Varkon began to retreat, unsure of how to respond to this small but powerful presence. When the last attacker vanished into the forest, Ethan lowered his weapon. Breathing heavily, the baby was calm in his arms, cooing softly again. Lyra came forward, placing a hand on his arm. Her eyes were full of gratitude and relief. "You saved us," she said in her musical language. Ethan smiled and nodded. "We saved each other," he replied gently. The forest returned to quiet. The glowing plants shimmered softly, reflecting the light of the setting sun. Ethan looked at Lyra and her child and realized something important. This baby was special. It had the power to influence those around it, to bring calm in moments of fear and chaos. Protecting it was not just about survival, it was about hope. That night, Ethan gathered his crew. "We faced danger today," he said, "but we survived because of courage, teamwork, and compassion. We must stay alert, because the Varkon will return. And when they do, we need to be ready to protect Lyra and her baby, no matter what." Luke frowned. "Captain, they're too strong. Can we really win against them?" Ethan shook his head. "It's not about winning with weapons. It's about protecting what's important. That baby is more than a child. It is a symbol, and symbols can change the hearts of even the fiercest enemies." Carla nodded. "Then we stay together. We protect them, and we use everything we know about this forest to our advantage." Lyra watched from the shadows, her baby sleeping safely in her arms. She hummed softly, a sound Ethan recognized as a song of trust and hope. He felt a warmth in his chest. He had never known a bond like this before, with a person, with an alien, with a life so small and fragile. The next day, the humans and Lyra moved cautiously through the forest, checking the village where her people hid. Ethan realized the damage the Varkon had done. Homes were destroyed, and many Leora were injured or missing. Lyra's people were scared, but seeing the humans working to protect and help them gave them hope. Rachel worked quickly, treating the wounded with care. Ethan helped carry supplies and guided the villagers to safer spots. Luke and Carla set up barriers to protect the camp. Every small action counted, and Ethan felt proud of the human crew. They were brave, clever, and compassionate. As the day ended, Ethan found a quiet spot near the river. Lyra and her baby joined him. The child reached for his hand, and Ethan held it gently. He looked into the baby's eyes and saw intelligence, curiosity, and something deeper, a connection to life itself. "You are going to be safe," Ethan whispered. "No matter what comes next, I promise." Lyra hummed softly, leaning against him. Ethan could feel her trust, her hope, and her fear all at once. It was a heavy burden, but he welcomed it. Protecting them had become more than a mission. It was his purpose. That night, Ethan stayed awake, watching the glowing forest. He thought about the Varkon, the danger ahead, and the fragile life he now protected. He knew that the next encounter would be harder. The Varkon were strong and ruthless, and their leader would not accept defeat easily. But Ethan also knew something else. Love, courage, and trust could be stronger than weapons. The baby had already shown its power, and if humans worked together, protecting what was innocent and pure, they could face even the greatest danger. As stars appeared in the sky above, the forest shimmering below, Ethan held the baby close. He felt a sense of hope, fragile but real. The battle was not over, but they had survived. They had formed a bond, human and alien, mother and child, protector and protected. And that bond would give them strength for whatever came next. The forest was alive with soft, glowing light, and somewhere in the distance the Varkon moved. Ethan knew the next challenge was coming, and when it did, he would not back down. He would protect Lyra and her baby, and he would face the Varkon with courage, intelligence, and heart. The story was no longer just about survival. It was about love, hope, and the power of humanity to protect and inspire, even in a universe filled with danger. Ethan whispered one last promise to the baby. "No matter what, I will keep you safe. Together we can face anything." The baby cooed softly, as if answering. Ethan smiled. The real battle was still ahead, but for now they were ready. The night was quiet, but Ethan Miller knew the calm would not last. The glowing forest shimmered under the moonlight, soft and beautiful. But he could feel the tension in the air. The Varkon were not finished. Their attack would come soon, and this time, they would come with everything they had. Ethan walked through the camp, checking on his crew. Carla Benson was adjusting sensors near the edge of the clearing. Luke Hayes was reinforcing barriers and traps with the help of the other crew members. Rachel Green moved quietly among the injured, making sure everyone was safe and ready. The humans were calm and efficient, but Ethan could see the fear in their eyes. He stopped near Lyra, who sat holding her baby close. The child's eyes were wide, taking in the glowing trees and the soft sounds of the forest. Ethan knelt beside them. "We'll keep you safe," he whispered. "No matter what comes, I promise." Lyra nodded, but her eyes were full of worry. She spoke softly in her melodic language, her voice trembling. Ethan could not understand the words fully, but the tone was clear. Danger was near. He held the baby's tiny hand, feeling a strange warmth that was not just physical. It gave him courage. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Ethan stood quickly, scanning the forest. "They're here," he said. "The Varkon. Everyone, get ready." The Varkon emerged from the shadows, moving faster than the humans could react. Their ships landed heavily on the forest floor, kicking up dust and glowing moss. Dark figures moved with precision and speed, weapons ready. The Varkon leader stepped forward, his glowing red eyes fixed on Ethan and the baby. Ethan raised his hands, trying to project calm. "We don't want to fight," he called. We only want to protect innocent lives. You don't need to do this. The leader hissed and stepped closer, but then paused. The baby in Lyra's arms cried out softly, and Ethan noticed something he had seen before. The Varkon froze. Their aggression seemed to waver when faced with the child. The tiny life had power beyond its size, a presence that reached into the hearts of those around it. Ethan took a deep breath. "This can end peacefully," he said. "Let us show you there is another way." The Varkon leader tilted his head, considering. Some of his soldiers stepped forward aggressively, but then they too paused, glancing at the baby. Ethan realized that if he used this moment carefully, they might be able to prevent total destruction. But then a loud crash came from the northern ridge. More Varkon warriors had arrived, attacking with weapons and devices that shot fire into the trees. The humans scrambled, trying to protect the camp. Ethan shouted orders, moving quickly. "Hold the line. Protect Lyra and the baby." Luke and Carla fought bravely, using traps and clever maneuvers to slow the attackers. Ethan held the baby close, running toward Lyra as explosions shook the ground. He felt the child's small hands grip him tightly. Its presence was calming, even in the chaos, but it was also a reminder. This life depended on them all. Rachel moved quickly among the injured, using her medical skills to stabilize those hurt in the skirmish. Ethan noticed how calm and steady she was. Even as the forest around them burned and the glowing plants flickered from the heat, he admired her courage. The Varkon pressed forward, strong and relentless. Ethan realized that weapons alone might not be enough. He needed a new plan. He looked at the baby, then at Lyra. "You are more than a child," he whispered. "You are a symbol of hope. Help me protect them." Lyra hummed softly and the baby cooed in response. Ethan felt the power of the moment. The Varkon seemed unsettled by the tiny life. Their leader's eyes narrowed, but there was hesitation now, a pause in their attack. Ethan acted quickly. He raised his voice, projecting confidence and authority. "Stop! We can talk! Violence is not the answer!" The forest seemed to hold its breath. The Varkon stopped, confused by the human's courage and the baby's presence. Ethan saw an opening. He motioned for the crew to move the injured and the villagers to a safer area deeper in the forest. Lyra followed, holding her baby tightly. Ethan kept close, ready to protect them. The baby's eyes seemed to understand everything, calm and alert at the same time. Ethan realized that the child's presence was influencing both sides, giving them a chance to survive. The Varkon leader stepped closer again, growling, but Ethan did not back down. "See? You don't need to destroy us. We can find another way. Let us help your people instead of fighting." The leader hissed, but the pause grew longer. The Varkon soldiers looked uncertain. Ethan realized that this small family, human and alien, had changed the tide. Courage, compassion, and trust were stronger than weapons in this moment. Then, without warning, the Varkon launched a sudden attack on the far side of the camp. Explosions shook the ground, sending humans and Leora scattering. Ethan yelled, "Form a circle! Protect the baby! Protect Lyra!" The baby cried out again, and this time its voice seemed to reach even deeper. Some of the Varkon faltered, dropping their weapons. Ethan noticed it immediately. The child had a strange power to calm aggression, even in the fiercest enemies. Using this advantage, Ethan led a countermove. He used the terrain to confuse the Varkon, directing them into traps and using glowing plants to create barriers. Luke and Carla worked flawlessly with him, moving with strategy and courage. Lyra stayed close to Ethan, humming softly to the baby. The baby's coos and movements seemed to guide them, almost like it knew where danger was before anyone else. Ethan realized that this child was not just a baby. It was a force of hope, a bridge between humans and the alien world. The battle lasted for hours. Explosions lit up the forest, glowing plants were damaged, and the air was filled with smoke and the sounds of combat. But the humans held. Ethan used every skill, every piece of knowledge, every moment of courage to protect Lyra and the baby. Finally, the Varkon began to retreat. They had underestimated the humans' courage and the power of the baby's presence. Ethan lowered his weapon, exhausted but relieved. The forest was still alive, but the air was heavy with smoke and tension. Lyra looked at Ethan with wide eyes. "You saved us," she said softly in her language. Ethan shook his head. "We saved each other," he replied. He held the baby close, feeling the warmth and the life that depended on him. The humans gathered around, checking on the injured and making sure the villagers were safe. Rachel tended to burns and cuts. Luke reinforced barriers, and Carla scanned the forest for any returning threats. Ethan watched them all, proud of their courage and skill. That night, the camp was quiet again, but the humans stayed alert. Ethan sat near Lyra and the baby, holding the child carefully. He felt a deep connection with the small life, a bond that went beyond words. Protecting this child had become his purpose. Lyra hummed softly, and the baby responded. Ethan realized that this small family had changed everything. The baby's presence had saved lives, calmed enemies, and inspired hope. He knew the future was uncertain, but for the first time, he felt a deep sense of purpose and strength. Ethan spoke softly to the baby. "You are special. You have a power that even I cannot fully understand, but I promise I will protect you, no matter what comes next." The baby cooed and reached for his hand. Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. Lyra placed a hand on his arm, silent but trusting. Ethan realized that courage, love, and hope could be stronger than any weapon in the universe. The forest outside glowed softly, reflecting the light of the camp. The Varkon had retreated, but Ethan knew they would return. The next battle could be worse, and the danger was far from over. But he also knew that humans, working together with courage and compassion, could face even the greatest challenges. Ethan held the baby close, looking out at the glowing trees. He whispered one last promise for the night. "No matter what happens, you will be safe. Together, we can face anything." And for the first time, the forest seemed peaceful, not because the danger was gone, but because hope had found a place to grow. The baby, small and fragile, had become a symbol of courage and life, and Ethan knew that with love, trust, and determination, they could survive whatever the universe sent their way. The night stretched on, the stars shining above, the forest glowing softly. Ethan stayed awake, watching over Lyra and her baby. He knew the real test was not over, but he felt ready. Because for the first time, he understood something powerful. Sometimes the smallest life can carry the greatest hope. And in the heart of the glowing forest, surrounded by courage and light, Ethan prepared for the challenges still to come. The dawn broke slowly over the glowing forest, painting the trees with soft pink and golden light. Ethan Miller stood at the edge of the clearing, looking out at the strange, beautiful world. The previous battles had left marks on the forest, fallen trees, scorch marks, and frightened villagers. But life still glimmered. The soft hum of the plants and the cooing of the baby reminded him that hope was alive. "Captain," Carla Benson said, running up to him, "the Varkon are gathering again. Scanners show a large fleet approaching from the northern ridge. They're stronger than before. This time, they might not hesitate to destroy everything." Ethan's jaw tightened. "We've faced danger before," he said quietly. "And we survived. We'll survive again. Lyra and her baby come first." "Always." Luke Hayes spoke next, his tone serious. "Captain, this is bigger than last time. We may not be able to fight them with weapons alone. If they attack fully, we could lose everything." Ethan shook his head. "Then we use what we have: courage, strategy, and hope, and the baby." The child has shown a power we don't fully understand. It may be our only chance to end this without losing lives." Back in the camp, Lyra held her baby close. She hummed softly, a melodic sound that calmed the frightened villagers. The baby reached out toward Ethan, its small hand wrapping around his finger. He smiled gently. "We're ready," he whispered. "We can do this together." The ground trembled suddenly. Ethan looked up. The Varkon fleet descended like a dark storm, landing heavily among the glowing trees. Their leader, the same one from before, stepped forward. His red eyes glowed with anger and determination. Ethan raised his hands, calling out, "We don't want war! We only want to protect innocent lives! Please listen to reason!" The Varkon leader hissed, but paused. His soldiers were restless, aggressive. Ethan knew words alone might not stop them. He glanced at the baby. Its tiny eyes looked up at him, alert and curious, and he felt a sudden strength. The baby cooed, and the sound echoed through the clearing. The Varkon froze again, uncertain. The child's presence carried a calm power, a force that reached even the hearts of those who had come to destroy. Ethan realized that the baby might save them all, but only if they stayed close, calm, and united. "Everyone, stay close!" Ethan shouted. "Protect the child at all costs!" Carla and Luke formed a defensive circle around Lyra and the baby. Rachel moved among the villagers, calming them and helping them to follow the humans' orders. Ethan held the baby gently, speaking softly. "It's okay. You're safe. You'll help us all survive." The Varkon leader stepped forward again. Ethan met his gaze. "You don't have to fight," he said. "You can see the child. You can see life and hope. Violence is not the only way." The leader hissed, his hand twitching toward his weapon. Then, unexpectedly, the baby reached out toward him, cooing softly. The sound seemed to pierce the anger and tension like a light in darkness. Some of the Varkon soldiers faltered, looking unsure. The leader's glowing eyes narrowed, confused, but he did not attack immediately. Ethan took a step forward, his voice strong. "See? Life can be protected. Innocence can survive. Let us show you that cooperation is stronger than destruction." Suddenly, another group of Varkon attacked from the eastern forest. Explosions rocked the ground, sending debris flying. Ethan shouted orders, moving quickly to block their path. Luke and Carla worked tirelessly, setting traps and slowing the attackers. Rachel helped the injured. The baby cried out loudly, and the sound seemed to ripple through the Varkon ranks. Soldiers paused, unsure what to do. The leader hissed again, frustrated, but he could not fully ignore the presence of the child. It was as if the baby's innocence and courage had a force that could not be fought with weapons. Ethan realized that this was their chance. He signaled the crew to push forward carefully, guiding the Varkon into areas where traps had been set. "Stay calm," he told them. "Follow the baby's lead. Protect life, not fight recklessly." Lyra hummed, and the baby responded. The cooing and hum seemed to spread through the clearing, touching the hearts of those around. Even some Varkon soldiers hesitated, lowering their weapons. Ethan saw the opening. He stepped closer to the Varkon leader. "Stop this," he said firmly. "See the child. See the life you could destroy. Choose another way. Protect your own people, not destroy others." The leader growled, his red eyes blazing, but the pause grew longer. Ethan knew he had to act carefully. One wrong move, and the Varkon could destroy everything. He glanced at Lyra and the baby. They were calm, connected, and ready. Then, without warning, the Varkon launched a final attack. Explosions and fire ripped through the clearing. Ethan shielded the baby with his body, holding it close. He could feel the warmth of life against him, a small, fragile force that was stronger than anything he had ever faced. Luke and Carla fought bravely, protecting the villagers and moving injured Leora to safety. Rachel tended to the wounded, her hands steady even as the forest shook. Ethan realized that courage, teamwork, and compassion were their greatest weapons. The baby began to cry loudly again, and Ethan felt the strange power of its presence ripple through the battlefield. Some Varkon stopped in their tracks, lowering weapons. The leader's eyes flickered, uncertainty showing through the anger. Ethan seized the moment. "We don't want to fight," he shouted. "We only want life to survive, protect the innocent, and we can all live." The forest seemed to hold its breath. The glowing plants flickered in the chaos. The Varkon soldiers hesitated, unsure how to respond. Ethan stepped closer to the leader, still holding the baby safely. The baby reached out, cooing softly. Ethan realized it was communicating, not with words, but with presence and emotion. The Varkon leader paused, visibly affected by the child's innocence and courage. Slowly, he signaled his soldiers to stop. Ethan felt hope rise in his chest. The tide was turning. The child's small presence had done what weapons and words could not. It had touched hearts, even among those who came to destroy. "Lyra," Ethan whispered, "we did it. We're safe. For now." Lyra smiled, her eyes full of relief and trust. The baby reached for Ethan again, cooing softly. He held it close, feeling warmth and hope flow through him. The Varkon leader finally stepped back, signaling a full retreat. The soldiers followed, leaving the forest silent but scarred. Ethan lowered the baby, breathing heavily. The humans and Leora were alive. The danger had passed, for now. The villagers gathered around, looking at the humans and Lyra's baby with awe. Ethan realized something powerful. This small child had changed the fate of an entire planet. Its presence, its innocence, and its courage had prevented destruction. Carla approached, exhausted but smiling. "Captain, that baby, it saved everyone." Ethan nodded, holding the child gently. "Not just the baby, all of us. Courage, hope, and trust, that's what saved us. Weapons alone could not have done this." Rachel looked at him, her eyes soft. "You were brave, Ethan. You protected them all. But the baby, it is special, more than anyone could imagine." Luke added, "We couldn't have done it without the humans working together. Strategy, courage, and heart, that's what mattered." Ethan smiled faintly, looking at Lyra and the child. He felt a deep connection to them, stronger than anything he had ever known. This was not just a mission anymore. This was love, trust, and hope made real. As night fell, the glowing forest began to heal. The fires were out, the plants slowly shimmered again, and the air was filled with quiet life. Ethan stayed close to Lyra and the baby, watching the stars appear above. He realized that the small child had not only saved them all, but had also changed him. "You are more than a child," Ethan whispered. "You are hope, courage, and life itself, and I will protect you, always." Lyra hummed softly, leaning against him. The baby cooed in response, reaching out to Ethan's hand. He felt a warmth that was not just physical. It was the connection of trust, love, and protection. The Varkon were gone, but Ethan knew the universe still held dangers. There would be other challenges, other battles, but for now, life had won. Courage had won. Love had won. In the glowing forest, humans, Leora, and the child were safe. The villagers began to rebuild, inspired by the bravery of Ethan and his crew, and by the special bond they had witnessed between species. Ethan looked at the child one last time that night. "No matter what comes," he said softly, "we will face it together. You have shown the universe that even the smallest life can carry the greatest hope, and that is something worth protecting. Always." The baby cooed, reaching up toward him. Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of peace he had never known. The battles were over, the forest was safe, and life, fragile but strong, had triumphed. And in that moment, Ethan understood something profound. Love, courage, and hope could shape the destiny of worlds. He held the baby close, looking out at the glowing trees, knowing that whatever the future held, they would face it together. The universe was vast, filled with dangers and wonders, but for the first time, Ethan felt that humans, and the small lives they chose to protect, could truly make a difference. The story had reached its end, but the hope it carried would continue forever.